are the King of the universe, who selected us from all the peoples and gave us your Torah. We thankful to you for you've given us the Torah. We bless you because you are our Elohim. You are the King of the universe and has given us the Torah of truth and he planted eternal life within us. We thank you, Yahweh. We bless you because you have given us the Torah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you for that, Yared. So where we stand is that we are a people that have been given a land. Okay. And in our land, just to familiarize us with everything, let me share right here quick. Share my screen. This is it's a serious situation. Let's see here, Ezekiel. Let's go here. And we're going to go to chapter number 20 right quick. Great reference about, what Yah's intention was for Israel and what his intention is going to be is found in chapter number 20 of Ezekiel. One of the things that I wanted to point out, I'm not going to read the whole thing. We know what he says about him coming to judge the nation and judging the people. And he's talking to Ezekiel, which is one of the Kohen, from the family of the Kohanim, okay? And he says this, he says, tell them, verse number 5, that Yahweh, Elohim says this, back on the day when I chose Israel, I raised my hand to the descendants of the house of Yaakov, okay? I want to stop right there. And I want you to understand that when he lifted his anthropomorphic hand for us to understand me, he swore something. He said to the descendants of the house of Yaakov, not just to those individuals that were there. He's talking about all of the descendants of Yaakov for all time. This is why this in particular information here that Yah is telling us is letting us know that I'm going to judge the whole house of Israel, but I'm also going to let you know that I chose the whole house of Israel. Back on the day when I chose Israel, I chose Israel, and I raised my hand, which meaning I swore to the descendants, plural, of the house of Yaakov. I revealed myself to them in the land of Mizraim when I raised my hand to them and said, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Remember in our Torah portion for the last several weeks, I think Akoti Pam, you mentioned it. He's always saying this. He's always saying, I am Yahweh, your Eloheka, or your Elohechem. I'm your Elohim. He's always making reference to this name because he's trying to point us in a direction so you and I can always remember this land. That's why. That's why he's always saying, I'm Yahweh, your Elohechem. I'm Yahweh, your Elohim. And he always puts in there, who brought you out of Mitzrayim. Why is this important? Because when you think about Egypt, I know we don't think of it this way. We don't think about the pyramids. We don't think about, the pharaohs and all that kind of, we don't get into all that. We don't get it. We're not trying to figure out the hieroglyphics. I'm not impressed with the colors on the wall. I'm being honest with you. I'm not. When I think about Egypt, and you tell me if this is what you think, I think about slavery. I think about hardship. I think about what you would call cruelty. Okay. I think about harsh treatment. That's what I think about. They were very cruel to Israel in this land. Okay. Just like what we're getting today. We're just in another Egypt. The word Egypt, Mizraim, is what they would call a dual plural. That means, like, for example, you have two hands. Well, hands in Hebrew called yadim are a dual. That means you have two of them. They're exactly the same. Okay. You have two eyes. That's why they call anayim. You have two hands, yadaim, two ears, ozanim. Okay. And two legs, two arms, 2 feet. Okay. So all those are dual plurals. Okay. So there's dual plurals that have to do with the body. There's a dual plural that has to do with land. And the land that you and I are in is a literal replica of Egypt. They have prided themselves on being a world dominating force and power. I don't know. That's the reason why they have the pyramid on the back of the dollar. I don't know. Is it because they went over to Egypt and took a lot of their artifacts, like the obelisk and everything, and put it over there in Washington, D.C.? I don't know. But what we do know is this, is that the way that we're treated in this land, okay, in the house of bondage, is right here. It's right here in this country and amongst so many others. Okay, but this one predominantly because the United States is the greatest power on the face of this earth. They are. Okay, and they're one of the cruelest people on the face of the earth. When we came into our bondage here, they did not discriminate against anything about the whether you were old, whether you were young. They were raped children, both male and female. They knock people's mouth out and torture them and have them sleep destitute and all kind of stuff, beat them, hang them on trees. I mean, you guys know what it is. I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but the Creator's letting us know that every time I tell you who I am, I'm letting you know what I've done for you and what I'm going to do for you. I exist, okay? I am the one who exists. I am the one who took you out from this land, okay? He says, on the day I raised my hand to them, pledging to bring them out of the land of Mizraim, okay, into a land I reconnoitered, tough word for me, which means I scouted out, okay, for them. Yah went out and he went out and surveyed a land that would be suitable for the children of Israel. He said a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands, the most beautiful of all lands. Inside of this land, they have an abundance of everything, a total abundance of everything, okay? So that's what we're talking about. In our Torah portion, let's go to the Torah portion because I do want to focus a little bit more on the Torah. This is the prophets. So in our Torah portion, and we'll read it, you guys have been reading it during the week. So we're going to just touch on a couple of different points, okay? And feel free to ask any questions, okay? We already know that Moshe has been called to Yahweh to go to the top of Mount Sinai, and Yahweh told him to go tell as a command to the children of Israel, the people of Israel, the sons of Israel, when you enter the land I'm giving you, the land itself is to observe a Shabbat, a rest for Yahweh. The Shabbat is connected not only to us as people, but it's directly connected to the land. And it's connected to everything that appertains to the land. It's connected to the vines, it's connected to the trees, it's connected to the fields, it's connected to everything that a person can put their hands on to do work. So you can see where Yah's talking about, don't put your hand to anything, okay? But the thing about it is that this is to be observed as a Shabbat for Yahweh, okay? This is for him, okay? So he's letting us know, I want you to take one, but also two, since you live there, I need you to honor the Shabbat for the land. Chapter number 26, which I'm not going to get into tonight, because that's next week's Torah portion. There's a penalty for not doing this for the Shabbat, okay, for the land. It says 6 years you will sow your field. In 6 years you will prune your grapevines and gather the produce. In the Hebraic and agricultural understanding of the produce is what you would really call income for you. Okay, this was how they made their money. Okay, that's how they made their money, through what they would get from the land and what they would get from the grapevines, what they would get from the olive trees, what they would get from the figs, what they would get. They made, this was their goods. Okay, so he says you got 6 years to do this, just like you and I got 6 years to 6 days to work. He says you got 6 years to do this work on this field. Okay. He says, but in the seventh year is to be a Shabbat of complete rest. It's a Shabbat Shabbathon for the land, a Shabbat for Yahweh. Okay. So it's for him. You will neither sow your field nor prune your grapevines within on that seventh year. They don't tell us about this in particular time here. They're not telling us, well, what this 6 years of working is, and then the seventh year here is what they would call a Shemitah. Okay. Oh, I don't know if I'm spelling this right. Let's go see it. The Shemitah. Have you guys ever heard of a Shemitah?
No.
Shemitah or a Shemitah. Okay. Yeah. So let me explain that to you because that's important. So I'm going to go right here, and it's going to be found. The Shemitah we can find in Deuteronomy chapter number 15. So generally, what I want to let you know is that the Torah is not in a chronological order. So you're going to get some things from Leviticus, and he won't mention the understanding of it until you get to Deuteronomy. You understand? He might say something over in Exodus, and then he'll give you more of the details over in the book of Numbers about what really happened. Okay. But the reason why he's doing this is because when we take our cycles, he keeps going back in the same path every year. But every time you go, you see something different. So when we finally continue to make our trips, things will become more familiar to us, and we'll be able to recognize when and why he was saying what he said. Okay. So in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter number 15, it's going to tell you about this term called the Shemitah. Okay. That's what it says. At the end of every 7 years, you are to have a Shemitah. Shemitah. Okay. And the word Shemitah just basically means, in its very simple terms, is called a release. Okay. That's when you're supposed to release. Okay. And he's going to tell us what you're supposed to release in this time. So you see there's a Shemitah, right, for the land, but you also have a Shemitah for debt. Okay. So it says here is how the Shemitah is to be done. Every creditor is to give up what he has loaned to his fellow member of the community. He is not to force his neighbor or his relative to repay it, because Yahweh's time of remission has been proclaimed. Okay. So there's certain times during the year or certain times during time when Yah says, I need you to release people from their debt. I need you to release the land from its work. I need to release you from any type of bondage. There's some different times, and these are times that have to be proclaimed. Okay. The word proclaim, as you already know, is our Hebrew word kara. It's a kof, a resh, and an ayin. Q-A-R-A. Quara. Okay. So the quara is the proclamation, to make something known and to speak it. Just like you just went through our first couple of feasts that we had on Pesach, we proclaimed it. That's why it's found in Leviticus, because Leviticus is really the word Wayikra, which is called Wayikra from this word here, Kara, right here. So we put here Wayikra, Wayikra. Okay. So Wayikra means to make a proclamation. So I need you to proclaim this. This is my time of release. This is my time that I have for the community member. Okay. Why the community member? Why the relative? Why is this so important? Because what we're talking about is something that has to do with the entire house, not just one family. We're talking about the community. I'm concerned about the community. Yes, I'm concerned about the individual homes, but overall, I'm concerned with the whole entire house of Yaakov, not just a few people. Okay, I mentioned earlier that some of us is prospered, but we cannot. Our prospering is really just doing good for us. It's not good for the entire community, right? And we can't at this point help the community because there's too much work to be done. You could do a little bit for the ones that you can in your family, but outside of that, it's impossible for us to repair the damage that has been done to our people. Okay. One of the things you can do that's not going to cost you nothing but your time is to talk with them and try to help get them to understand who they are as a people. Okay. So he says, you may demand in verse number 3, that the foreigner repay his debt. But you are to release your claim on whatever your brother owes you. So there's people in your family that you gave money to, like me, and they've never paid me back. And you say, well, is this just applicable to the land, or is this applicable right now? The Yah's laws are applicable no matter where you live. Okay. If you and I cannot perform, that doesn't mean that they don't exist. They do exist. Okay. What will you and I receive for not being able to do those things? We've called mercy. Okay. It's called compassion. Okay. It's not grace to say, well, I don't have to do it. Okay. Whatever's in your power to do, you should do. Okay. So I have the power
to stand to withhold it in the 6th year, and you knowing that the 7th was a Shemitah.
There you go. This is a crime.
Yeah.
Right. So, and the reason why it's a crime, you guys, is because, all right, so who are we in a relationship with? Let's just take the time and just a brief moment and ask ourselves, who are you and I in a relationship with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to go deeper. Who is he? What has he done?
He's brought us out of Mitzrayim.
Yes. With a strong hand and a mighty arm, right?
Yeah.
He's destroyed nations. He's killed kings and destroyed nations on our behalf.
Yeah.
Okay? Is he in control of all the forces of nature?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah. Did he put that big ball of fire in the sky and tell it to go around the earth when he tells it?
Yes.
So I'm not going to spend too much more time with talking about that, but what I'm going to let you know is this. Who you and I are in a relationship with is very dangerous. Very dangerous. Because if you and I cross this individual, this entity, this power, and we disrespect him and dishonor him, you and I are going to have to pay for that, because he doesn't let anybody disrespect him. I wanted to be clear. There's no, hey, I purposely went against you and we're good, you should just let it go. That's not going to happen. Okay. So because we're in this relationship, there's a fear that you and I are supposed to have to say, well, you know what? Whatever you said, I need to look at it carefully and make sure that I don't go against anything that he said. So as you said, Bickham, it is a crime. It is a crime against the creator. Okay. So if you have a debt that somebody owes you, okay, I don't care what it is, and they didn't pay you, it doesn't mean, okay, that you got to keep hounding them years and years and years and years. You can't do that. You have to have a time of release. Okay. So we don't know what the Shemitah is. This is based on the calendar. Okay. Not when you feel like it. Okay. So this was a time of year. It says every 7 years. And guess what? They had a calendar that told them the first year that they came out of Mitzrayim, they kept a calendar. They knew exactly what it was. The Jewish community believes that this year that we're currently in right now is actually Shemitah year. Okay. So you can use that as a reference if you choose. We use their Pesach calendar, you know, so we have to take whatever we can. Okay. That makes sense. So if someone has owed you anything this year, you got to let it go. You can't ask them for it no more. Now, there you said, well, they got away with it. No, they didn't, because Yahweh says that the wicked will do what? The wicked will borrow, but they what?
They won't repay.
They won't pay back. That's what they do. And that's between them and Yah. Okay. So some things you and I are in control of, and other things we're not. Okay. So that's what a Shemitah is to get rid of the debt. Okay. Because it's in the community. So Yah wants that to be released. He said, in spite of this, you don't look, in spite of what I just told you, right? He says, well, I said in 3, I forgot 3. He says, you can demand it from a foreigner. You can make them pay their debt back. You don't have to release them. Okay. In our Torah portion, which you guys have sure read, you know that we don't supposed to charge our people any kind of interest on anything. You gave somebody a loan for $100, it's $100 when it returns. It's not 110, it's 100. If you sold something to your brother or your sister, you're not to make a profit on it. Whatever it costs you is what you're supposed to give it to them for. Now, on the flip side, if your brother or your sister go against you and they commit a crime against you, Yah says that they got to pay what?
Double.
What's the fine? Yeah, it's double, absolutely. But on some in particular crimes, Yah says you got to add 20. You got to give them what you took and 20%. So what I'm finding in my studies, which I'm sharing with you without being religious, is that Yah is concerned. He talks about debt. He talks about money. He talks about loans. He talks about finance. He talks about profit margins. He talks about interest. He talks about foreclosure. He talks about houses. He talks about income. He talks about assets. And he talks about the poor. Okay? So he knows what it is. So this idea that this doesn't exist in what they would say in the kingdom, Yah says that this Torah is forever. He said, you will always, listen carefully, you will always have the poor in the land. Somebody tell me why.
Because of greedy men?
No.
Oh.
No. That's not only it. No, we've been thinking that. The reason why there's going to be poor in the land always is because Yah loves the poor, he loves the widow, and he loves the fatherless. The Torah was designed for those people that Yah says, I've chosen some people to be that under that category. They fit under the category of fatherless and a widow and a stranger and a foreigner and being poor. I don't want you to turn your eye from justice because in a lawsuit you saw they were poor. I just want you to understand that, listen, whatever you're designated to be, that's what you're going to be. Because he said, if the poor, the widow, the fatherless ever cry out to me and you did anything to them, what I'm going to do to you?
He's going to hear them.
I'm going to hear them and I'm going to do what to you? Harakti, I'm going to kill you. Okay. That's in Exodus chapter 22, verse 22. Those are his words. He didn't say, I'm going to think about it and we're going to figure out a work program. Nothing. They ever call out to me because you did something to them, I'm going to kill you. Okay. And we'll see that in a second. My point here is that there's always going to be somebody that fits in the category of poor. There's always going to be a foreigner. There's always going to be a stranger. There's always going to be a widow. There's always going to be a Levite. There's always going to be this. So this will never change. I chose some people to be poor to call out to me. So when the person who follows what I said, they would be enriched and praise me and say, well, thank you. You know, there's an Elohim when you're really down and you call out on Yah and somebody comes to your aid. Some people are designated to be poor. And if you're one of them, you can't complain. Because right now, as a whole, is our nation poor? No,
Yes.
Israel. Now, I'm not talking about United States of America.
Oh, yes.
The nation of Israel, are they poor right now?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So do we have any land? Like for real? Like ours? No. So we're broke. Okay. This is one of the reasons as well that the Creator has said that there's a certain thing that how I want you to treat the poor. I want you to treat them exactly the way I'm going to treat them. You understand? So here he says you can demand that, right? But whatever your brother owes you, you got to release that claim. And brother here is a Hebrew Israelite. They're Hebrew bloodline, Hebrew Israelite. Okay. In spite of this, there will be no needy among you, because Yahweh will certainly bless you in the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance to possess. Okay. There's some questions around whether or not this is a true statement, because it says he's giving something to you to possess. Well, we found in our Torah portion that the Creator says that the land belongs to who? Who does the land belong to?
Oh,
It
to him.
belongs to Yahweh.
To
It
him.
belongs to Yahweh. He said that you guys are what?
You're cohabitating you with me.
You just hanging out with me. You're a stranger and you're a foreigner. You understand? So when he talks about giving to us, what he's saying is, I made a promise to your ancestors that I would, bring you into this land. But the only way that you can be there is when I'm there with you. It's my land. Okay? That's the agreement. When I say that I'm going to give you something, right? Because I'm the one who has the power. It's the most beautiful of all lands. It's the land that I searched out for you to be, so you can live there. Question, is that land what they call Israel right now? Is that the most beautiful of all lands that you've ever seen?
No.
No.
The correct size.
It's a bunch of rocks. It's a bunch of dirt, right? Matter of fact, in our Torah portion this week is talking about the Yuval, the time of release, right? Every 50 years. Ask me whether or not the Ashkenazi, ask and see if do they keep the Yovel. You know what their excuse is for not keeping the Yovel? To let people go, let them return back to their own land and their own property. Do you know why they say that that's not in play right now? They said because all the tribes are not here yet.
Any excuse.
Any excuse to do, right? Also, too, the Ashkenaz, just bringing out some contrast, because you got to know both sides of the story so you'll have some comparisons. The Ashkenaz believe, like we're going to talk about, after 6 years, you got to let your brother go in the 7th year of all debts. They have put a provision in their in the Talmud, in their sages, that will allow a person not to do this. See, this is what you call a private debt. Okay, so what they did is they put a and you can look it up. I'm hopeful I can write it out properly, but it's called a prusbal. Okay. Prusbal. Okay. And what this is it's an exception. So you're changing a debt from being private between brothers, okay, and relatives. You're changing it to be public, as if the individual that you're asking it from is like a they're a foreigner. You then go from being private to public, meaning after this Shemitah you still owe me. Because what they were doing is before the Shemitah comes, people will borrow money from somebody in the year number 6, because they knew in the 7th year it had to be released. You see, so people would try to borrow from people, and according to Yahweh's word, you couldn't withhold it if it was in your hand to give it to them. So there was a lot of what you would call
manipulation of the law.
You know how we are.
Yes.
We find out a good deal, we turn around and corrupt it, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of corruption, but it started at the top with the leadership. So my point is that the Ashkenazi, and this is not me saying it, within their teachings, they have found a way to take your debt, and instead of releasing you and releasing your claim, they found a way to allow a person to be able to claim it after the Shemitah, so you can hold on to it. Yah says release it 100% to let it go, okay? So the reason why he's doing this, he said, is because there won't be any needy one among you. Because the reason why people have to borrow in this point is because they either came into some situation where they became poor. I'm learning from the Torah that a person can actually become poor, but they can also become rich. He says if somebody sold themselves into slavery, either they could be redeemed by their brother, but if they became rich, so you could become rich or you could become poor. Either way, that's part of life. Sometimes you're going to have some unfortunate circumstances that happen, and one day you might have everything, and the next day you might, due to some unforeseen circumstances. Maybe you got an insurance policy didn't cover everything, so then you had to pay some things. Okay, so verse number 5 says, "If only you would listen carefully to what Yahweh your Elohim says and take care to obey all the commandments I'm giving you today." It's always an if and only if you would only listen. If you and I don't listen to what he's saying, like they didn't, then bad things are going to happen. Okay, there's a lot of every obedience to what Yah says in terms of releasing a debt. Yah would even will bring upon an invasion of an army against Israel if they were to do certain things like not release things or not give somebody what they deserve. He would bring in someone to execute judgment on the whole entire nation. You understand? Because what it is profaning his name, it's butchering his name, it's poking a hole in his name. Okay. This is why he's always telling us to be careful to listen to what he says. Yes, Yahweh will bless you as he promised you. You will lend money to many nations without having to borrow. You will rule over many nations without them ruling over you. Is that the case today?
No.
So we're not blessed by Yahweh. Okay. We're not. He's just having mercy on us individually. As a nation, we don't, right? And he says, if someone among you is needy, one of your brothers, in any of your towns in your land, which Yahweh Elohim is giving you, you are not to harden your heart or shut your hand from giving to your needy brother. No, you must open your hand to him and lend him enough to meet his need and enable to him obtain what he wants. This is only, listen to me, when he's saying this, he's not saying that it's only for the land. He's saying if you have the ability to do so, you should do that. You really should. Okay. And he's talking about, listen, if you notice what he said, is lend your brother. Lend. Your brother wasn't supposed to come to you and just take something from you and say, you're my brother, so you're supposed to just give it to me. It didn't work like that. If your brother became poor, he can indenture himself to you as a worker for you. Okay. That's what he could become to you. If he got poor, he would have to enslave himself to you. Okay. But you didn't supposed to treat him like a slave. You're supposed to treat him like a worker. And you're supposed to allow him, when he did work, you're supposed to pay him. And whatever you paid him, that's what he's supposed to pay you out of what he got paid. So it works like that. It's not free. Okay. So I want you to do that, but also I need you to guard yourself. Okay. From against allowing your heart, your mind to entertain the mean-spirited thought. Because the 7th year is approaching, right? And the Shemitah is at hand, you would be stingy towards your needy brother. So as you say, Bikram, it's not only that they were abusing the system from the standpoint of saying, we're going to hold them to the debt, right? Here's another flip side of it saying, well, the Shemitah is coming, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm not going to put it in your hand, okay? So rather, your hand be stingy towards your needy brother, not give him anything. For then he may cry out to Yahweh against you, and it will be your sin. I have a little joke. Hopefully it won't take it the wrong way. If you got a Christian who's asking for something, you don't have to worry about them crying out to Yahweh.
No. You're right.
But if I cry out to you, and you withhold, then that will be your sin. So again, like we said earlier this week, that you can miss the mark on this one. You can miss the target. Because the idea is to not give yourself over to that way of thinking because you're in a community. Rather, you must give to him. You are not to be grudgingly when you give to him. If you do this, Yahweh Elohim will bless you in all your work, in everything you undertake. So you can see that the blessings of Yahweh are conditioned upon obedience to what he said. And what we find is the mindset. Don't be grudging. Don't be stingy. He uses the word stingy, grudgingly, allowing your heart to be mean-spirited. Okay. Because here it is right here. For there will always be what?
Poor people in the land.
There's always going to be poor. Okay. And he tells us why. This is why I'm giving you this order. I just told you they will always be in the land. I put them there. So you can what? Asa, do the commandment. I test everybody. I told you in the Torah portions, right? As he's talking to us, I told you that you need to be kadosh. From what? I'm kadosh. Do you not know that the throne in which Yahweh sits on is predicated upon righteousness and justice? He cannot allow us to do things that we shouldn't do. That would be profaning his name. Don't be mad at Yah because he says you can't be stingy or you have to give to someone in need. Let's don't be mad at him and grudgingly because he asked us to do these things, because when we're doing these things, we become more like him. Okay. And so he's introducing us to the way he sees things and how his perspective is. So this is helping us get an understanding. Like, if you want to be like me, understand there's always going to be in the poor in the land. There's no way around it. Okay. And the reason why he does this is because it's a reminder about what he did for us. We were slaves when we were in Mitzrayim. He took us out, and was he stingy?
No.
Was he stingy towards us? Did he just say, I'm going to withhold from you?
No.
Nope.
Did you and I and our ancestors, when I say you and I, I'm talking about our ancestors, our family, did they have to go in and build houses?
He gave them cities that were already built.
They got
He
cities that are
gave them
built.
all of the gold and jewelry out of Mitzrayim.
Yeah, the cities. So he wiped them out and took all their a great deal of their wealth. He plundered them,
Yeah.
pillaged them, sent them out with a whole bunch of cash, a whole bunch of money, right? A whole bunch of wealth. Then on top of it, after doing that, he destroys their enemies, okay? Destroys the people chasing them, kills all them. Then those who coming against him, he destroys them. They're hungry, he feeds them. They're never, have any sickness besides the plague for not going into the land. Then he turns around and says, I'm going to bring you to a land that has vineyards, there's fields, rivers, streams, everything. Houses that are already built, wells that are already dug. They just walked into what you would call paradise.
Mhm.
And he says, when you get here, understand it's not for any righteousness that you have done. You're no more righteous than the people that I just finished wiping out. Okay. He killed a lot of different people and their kings in order to get that land. He had to destroy them and told them, don't have any pity and don't spare them. What's my point? Yah is not stingy. And he can't have people around him. I'm talking to me. That can either be grudgingly, because I don't think they deserve it, or grudgingly, right? Or any of those types of things, because that's not reflective of who he is. So now we're opening up something here new. We're understanding that the reason why we're going through the Torah portions is so we can develop our characters, so we can be more like our Creator. And then when we become more like him, and we decide we start thinking like him, and we start wrapping and clinging ourselves to him, then Yahweh says, oh, really? you want to walk and do what I told you? Yeah. Oh, wow. I've been looking for somebody to do this. I've been looking for somebody to stand for righteousness and justice. And you guys want to do that? We want to do it now. Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Now, instead of me turning my hand against you to destroy you, I'm going to turn my hand towards you to bless you. The same intensity that I have to destroy you for doing what I told, for you going against what I said, I'm going to have more intensity towards blessing you and giving you that which I promised to your fathers. I want to be able to keep my word. And you're standing in the way of that happening when you decide that you don't want to be like what I told you. Okay. You and I are a very special class of people. Okay. Yah has told us that there will always be poor in the land. And that is why I'm giving you this order, this command. You must open your hand to your poor and needy brother in your land. If your relative, your kinsman, a Hebrew man or woman is sold to you, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th, you are to set him free. This is the Shemitah. So you don't only let go of the debt, but you let go of someone who's indebted to you or enslaved to you. You got to let them go. You have to set them free, because Yah is interested in redemption. He's interested in bringing things back and restoring things back to its natural state and what it's supposed to be. When Yah designed the earth, he designed the sun to go around the earth during the day, and then at night he would bring in the sun and the moon and the moon and the stars. He's designed the earth to have seasons where rain is given at a certain time and locations. Some areas he's decided for no water to go there in the desert. So he has the ways that he's designed things, and it accomplishes and brings pleasure to him. You and I might not understand why Yah would have the desert and it's without no water and say that that brings delight to him. Well, it's the same idea and concept when he says, well, why would Yah want them to be poor versus everybody being wealthy and rich? These are his people. So just like he would have a desert with no water, he can have a poor person with no resources. And that would bring him glory, because it gives the other opportunity for when the water did hit the desert rejoiced, because it says Yah has been good. And now we have the rich person or the person who has means and resources that shower down the water of their resources down to a person who's poor, don't have anything, like a desert, and then they're refreshed. And they all turn to give thanks to Yahweh. Our successes and our accomplishments are not for the benefit of ourselves. And with this being in mind, we have to take a different approach, you know? And I know money is a very sensitive issue for us, because often people take advantage of people and they do borrow and they don't pay back. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many thousands of dollars that were out there that I had to let go, because obviously they're wicked and they didn't pay back. Okay. But my point is that everything that we do as individuals, you can still make a difference by you changing your mindset and understanding, like, hey, I want to benefit my community. I want to benefit, and it starts at home. So that's where we're supposed to start. And then from there, collectively, we come together. But also too, I got some not so good news. No matter how hard Israel is trying to bring themselves together through either IUIC, through different camps, through, you know, different organizations, whatever it is, we're still scattered all over the world. We're still fragmented to different pieces and different, you know, what they call segments and things. Yes, I'll call to Pam. I can't hear you. Unmute
You were
yourself.
talking about if your brother is in need, you're supposed to open your hand to him. And in the case that he does not pay you back, but comes again with the poor mouth, are you supposed to still give him?
You feed them.
You feed him and that's it. Okay.
That's it. You feed them, but remember what he said. Okay. So for example, you loan something to somebody, they never paid you back, they come back a second time. Well, here's the thing. You would actually be helping them if you did what Yah is going to ask us to do. You would actually make that person perform work for you, and you pay them that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But if you're not willing to do the work, then you don't get any money. If they have a ability to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
you make them work for that money. So somebody next day want to borrow $500, right? And I'm not a bank. You look in the house and see the things that need to get done. And you say, this is what I need to get done. I'll provide this, this, and this, and that, whatever you trust them to do. And if say that's how you're going to get that money. Well, you're not just going to give it to me. No, you can work for me. I got stuff that needs to get done.
Yes.
See?
Okay.
Yeah. But a person who just lost their job, they don't have any resources, and they're just down. You know, you could protect their dignity by asking them, you know, you can help them out. But also too, if they needed more money and you didn't really have to give to give, then you can put that to work for you and use it that way. You know, that's the thing. So there's different ways that we could do it. And of course, you always, you know, you feel anything, any question about anything, consult, get wisdom, go to the Torah, go to the Proverbs. It tells you about those things. You've looked at all the things that have to do with lending and money and all those things. So it happens. What we're talking about is real life.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, I had to release a lot of people, but there's other people that I can't release because they're foreigners. So I can charge them interest and I can demand my payment. Okay. So what are we finding out about how Yahweh feels about his people versus a stranger or foreigner?
He gives his people priority.
You get priority, you get preference. So because it says that we're his people, you and I can't treat each other in a manner that doesn't follow the way he treats them. So that's the question. That's the better question. Are we treating people the way that his people, more specifically, are we treating them the way that he told us to treat them?
Probably
That's
not.
why we should know the Torah. Because if you know the Torah, you would know like there's certain things, but Yah doesn't allow us to be abused. He doesn't allow us to, people to do things to us and never have to be accountable. That's not true. You can see all the time where someone goes against someone, they got to pay a fine. If they got caught stealing, they got to pay double, like Aki said. Bickham said, you got to pay double. Yeah, you go pay double. On certain things, you pay double. There are offenses towards Yah, you can pay that and 20%. You see, so those things happen. So we got to think, are we treating people that way? One of the things that sticks out a lot to me is that he says that when this Hebrew woman or man is sold to you and he's to serve you for 6 years in verse number 12, the 7th year to set him free means the Shemitah, to release him or her. Moreover, when you set him free, you don't let him leave empty-handed. Just like when they left Mitzrayim, you don't leave empty-handed. Yah says you shall supply him generously from your flock. Okay, whatever that meant at that time, I don't know. Threshing floor, you're going to give him something out of your wine press. You're going to give him what Yahweh has blessed you with. Again, the blessings that Yahweh is interested in giving us is appertains to the land, which is the animals and the cultivation, the fruit and the vineyards and all those things. Okay, so those are the things that you're going to put in his hand. Just like when he left Egypt, put something in his hand. Okay, and guess what? When he was a slave to you and working for you and sold himself to you, Yahweh says that he's worth more. Listen what Yahweh says. He says in 15, I need you to remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim and Yahweh your Elohim redeemed you. That is why I'm giving you this order today. So he's associating, remember at the beginning, he said, I am Yahweh your Elohim that brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. That is a theme that he always says, because he's trying to remind us that you guys were the people that I took the yoke off your neck. So why would I take a yoke off your neck for you to turn around and put a yoke on somebody else's neck? Why are you going to do that? Why are you going to do to them what I didn't do to you? Why are you going to put a burden and treat them harshly and cruel and be a tyrant to them? The people that I brought out from that situation, I delivered you and them from it. Now you're perpetuating that which you learned in Mitzrayim, which I told you that I didn't want you to follow anything that they taught you. In relationships, you don't get to run your marriage the way you did when you're in Egypt. You don't get to do that, okay? Just like when we get back to the land, there won't be none of this. Going, following, going down to the court and having the stranger tell you, that you got to get out of your own house. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not. There won't be, I discipline my child, so I go to jail. No, it means when we go back to the land, Yah is going to structure the lifestyle of his people in a manner that's conducive to righteousness in the land. It won't be like where it is at right now. Okay. So we have to endure these things when we're here. Okay. But he's reminding us, Zakar means to remember. And that's one of the reasons why, and you guys already know your Hebrew, Zakar right here, this is called Zakar. Z-A-K-A-R. And Zakar also means male. And it also means memorial. So when you think about Mitzrayim, you think about being a servant in this land of Egypt is a place of oppression, but it's also a place, it's called a strait. It means pressure. It's a place of great pressure to be between a strait where someone is literally squeezing you. Okay. Everything you make, everything you do, there's so much pressure on you. They're being watched. Every move you make, every time you say something, there's somebody there to either squeeze you or take something from you. When you think on this, in this nation we're in right now, you can barely try to come up. If you try to come up, they got you. They squeezing you at every turn. If they don't squeeze you on your paycheck, they're going to squeeze you at the gas pump. If they ain't going to squeeze you there, they'll squeeze you in the taxes. If they don't got you there, they go get you here. Whatever it is, you like, eating out. I got a tax for you. We're going to tax that. I'll tax your paycheck After you get that tax, I'm going to tax your gas. After I tax that, I'm going to tax your food. I'm going to tax your entertainment. I'm going to tax it all. You're just working to be taxed. Not in the land of Israel. Not with our people. It won't be like that. But our people is going to be exchange of goods. Oh, you got olive oil? Oh, okay. I got pomegranates. How many of you guys want? Oh, okay. So you got the scale? Yeah, I got the scale. Is the scale righteous, Bickham? Is it Zedek? Is it balanced? Is it righteous? You're gonna get exactly what you pay for. You understand? Ain't gonna be no added addition, no tax. Okay. So these are the things that we need to keep in mind about Yah. So the Shemitah is part of it. I didn't want to explain this tonight because when we talk on Shabbat about the actual Yovel, which is the time of Jubilee, there's 7 years that, there's 7 sevens. So every 6 years you're supposed to release. And then you're supposed to do that 7 years times 7 years. And then on the 50th year is when they would call a Yovel, which is called Jubilee. Okay. Which Jubilee, I'm going to tell you again, it means the ram's horn. And that's when the shofar is sounded. And it means a time of release. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what the shofar represents in that. I'll give you a little quick peek. The blowing of the shofar has to do with the idea of brightness and cheerfulness, because it's a very bright sound, but it's also a very bright and cheerful sound and a beautiful sound. So when he's talking about blowing the shofar, he's talking about this is a time of joy. This is a time of simcha, a time when everyone's being released from their burden and they're being set free. And Yah says there's a cycle in your life cycle. This is what's going to be every 50 years for you. This is what's going to be every 7 years for you. You're going to work 6, the 7th year you're released. So you get plenty of opportunity to start over all the time. I don't leave you in a state of bondage like you are today. I don't let people hold nothing over them for years and years and years so they go to their grave. People won't even let go forgive, and let alone let go of the money. They won't let go of something someone did to them. And that's a sin that you're holding. Yah says don't hold a grudge. So the grudge is not only about money, the grudge is about what someone has also did to us. He said, don't, that's sin for you. Because you know why? Because Yahweh doesn't hold a grudge. Yahweh does not hold a grudge. He'll be mad, but not forever. And that's beautiful. And that's what Yah's saying. Don't hold a grudge. If you got a problem, you tell your brother or your sister what the issue is. And if at least you got it all for you. You don't go in there angry and say, hey, let's talk about this issue. I don't want to talk about it. Okay, well, I just wanted to find out. You don't want to talk about it? Okay. If you ever do want to talk about it, let me know. I'm just trying to get this off, and I'm trying to get some closure here so you and I can look at something better, and we can do something different. We can talk about something totally different. Does that make sense? Hallelujah. Why? Any statements before I close? Contributions?
We were talking earlier about Yah always saying that he was the one that brought them out of Mizraim. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about the time Moshe was up on the mountain with Yahweh, and the people, Aaron leading, built the golden calf. And at some point in worshiping the golden calf, they also gave the golden calf credit for bringing them out of Mizraim. That's incredible to me.
Yes, and what he's telling us, Akoti, is that from the time that they left, they never believed that Yahweh was with them. They thought other gods were doing the things that they did for them.
Right.
And so when they got through, even today.
And today I see the Christians who are Israel, and they give the credit to JC.
Yeah. And Yah's going to remind them later on in the wilderness that I am he alone. I'm going to show you that. Matter of fact, I need you to separate yourself from this group. I need this group over here. Bickham, I need you and your family to move away from them. And David and you guys and Pamela, you, Jared, and the rest of you guys, Italian, you guys come over here right quick. open up the earth. Everyone falls in, fire falls down, burns everybody up. Then he
Pull it
says,
up.
then you'll know that I meant what I said. And you and I will cry out and say, blessed be Yahweh, the Elohim of all the earth and the heavens. This is our Elohim.
He read
Yeah.
the rebels.
Mighty.
And now that we got that settled, are you ready to go in and take possession? Yes, we are, Yahweh.
Yeah.
Where shall we begin? Okay, line up. And we go as a flock, and he'll lead us in. Because he said, no uncircumcised in heart or mind, okay, and body will ever go into the land. A rebel will not step one toe into the land. This is why I'm trying to tell you, don't believe the hype when they said that when you get to the land, then everything is going to be washed out. So you could practice all your homosexuality, all your filth, and you're just making a mistake. You just don't know. No. There are rebels that are among the house of Israel. There are wicked men and women and children that are going to be put to death because they decided that I don't want to listen. I didn't know. Yah says, I called, but you didn't answer. You see? And by the way, you and I are the witnesses that he did call. He called us.
Yeah.
So it's not like he just chose. I don't have no respect to persons. I spoke to you and I told you what it was. How do you know Yah ain't talked to my brother? How do you know he didn't visit him and say, hey, listen, I need you to search me out. I need you to stop your wickedness and come to me. How do we know? You see?
Yeah.
So Yah's not a respecter of persons.
No.
No, not at
'Cause he
all.
said he was gonna test us just like he did our ancestors
I got to test everybody.
in the wilderness.
And you're going to find out. And when you get there, then you'll know that I'm Yahweh. Okay. So obviously, some people don't know, but we're going to find out who's Yahweh. That's what we're going to find out.
Do you think that when we have opportunity to tell others about Yahweh, just various things about him, and they just can't accept it, that was their opportunity that he gave them?
I say that's one of many opportunities.
Right.
Okay.
Because when I was 23 years old, I found a book. I got a book. I don't know where I got it from, and told me I had to keep the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. And I was a Christian, and I took that book and said that was written by the devil, and I threw the book away.
Wow.
I'm 52 years old this coming month. I was 23 years old. There's another opportunity when I was a Christian. I was doing a prison ministry and working with the homeless and all this kind of stuff. And these 3 Hebrew kids came to what they call the King's Club, the Teenage King's Club, King JC, right? Anyway, the kids came in and telling me about the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, and I have to keep them. And he argued me, and they were so proficient in what they were talking about. And they would show it to me, and guess what? I remember this like several years ago. And I said, I said, you guys are very zealous. I said, you guys have an excellent knowledge of the Old Testament. I said, well, we're in a new covenant. So Yah's been sending me people and sending me stuff over the years. So he's always been trying to talk to his people. He says, all my people are rebels. That's why I told you when you say it and you shout aloud and you sound the alarm and you don't hold back. You don't hold back your tongue and tell them, if you're doing wickedness, Yah's going to put you to death. You don't sugarcoat and say, well, you're just not going to make it into land. You tell them your existence is over, because that's what he says. And not only yours, but your children too. You understand? Because it provided that they do what you do. But if they change their mind, if they don't see anything different, that's the danger. If they don't see anything different, they have nothing to compare. They're only doing what they see you do. So you're gone. So yeah, Yah talks to us in all kind of times. So you're right. You got to, when you say something, just say it. That's just one little example. It's not based on when we just said it, because look at me. I finally got to my point, like, wait a minute, this ain't making no sense right here. He said, then I found out he had a name. I was like, you got a name? Your name's not God? My name's not God. My name is Yahweh. I said, what? And then when he told me that, the fear of Yahweh came over me. And I was like, okay, I've been breaking the Shabbat all my life. I'm going to be put to death. I immediately stopped eating bacon. I was like, that's it. I used to eat 6 pieces of bacon every morning. 6. Because my grandfather loved bacon. Bacon and eggs, bacon and grits, bacon and oatmeal, bacon. Fear of Yahweh came over me. My wife didn't believe it. Took her 2 years to get it. Yah told me, don't say nothing to her. I said, what do you mean? If I don't say anything, she's going to die. Don't say a word. Don't mention my name to her no more. Guess what happened? She's in the bed with the covers over her head in the middle of the night with a flashlight, reading Jeremiah chapter number 10. And the fear of Yahweh came over her and told her, if you put up a Christmas tree, I'm going to kill you. Next day, she sat down with the kids and said, hey, I got to talk to you guys about something. I'm sitting there listening. I'm thinking she's running a game. You know what I mean? I don't know what's into her. She said, look, we can't put up a tree. Then the next thing you know, we got to keep the Sabbath. She started cooking. I'm like, did she poison my food? Where did this come from? I thought she was faking it. And guess what? Sure enough, weeks later, she told me, I didn't want to tell you. Yah told me he'll kill me. I said, really? She said, yeah. And ever since then, she's been growing and trying to follow what he says. You see? So Yah, and she said that somebody told her years back in the church we were going to, we're the children of Israel. Somebody already told her that. But they had us believing we were Gentiles.
Sure did.
We're not Gentiles. That's why I don't believe nothing. I don't have to listen to Paul. He's an apostle to the Gentiles. He's not an apostle to the Hebrew Israelites. He's an apostle to the Gentiles. And told us that I am sent to the Gentiles. So you don't have to tell me no more, Paul. I don't. You're on your thing. You stay on your thing. I'm not a Gentile. You talk to them about not being circumcised. That makes sense because guess what? You think that they don't have to be. And guess what? Yah never told them to be unless they were going to partake in what the Abrahamic covenant. You see? So if anything, he's cutting them off from being part of the Abrahamic covenant. Makes sense to me.
Perfect.
He's not right. He's not writing to us. I was trying to read something in Romans. I was like, this don't make no sense. And it finally came to me. He's not writing to you. He's writing to a group of people, okay, the Romans, right? They're scattered, in Asia, right, that have subdued Israel at this time. He's writing to them. Talking about he prays for them all the time and, all this other sort of stuff, introducing things about our Elohim and, a man is not made righteous except for through faith. No, we don't have to listen to Paul. So get him off. And Timothy goes along with Paul. So you don't have to listen to him either. That's Paul's little student. You don't have to listen to Timothy or Titus because they were with Paul. Woo! Yes. So continue to talk to people. Let them ask questions. You answer it. You tell them we're in a cycle. Yeah, we're on cycles. And we walk on a road and we're taught new stuff all the time. We're Yahweh's flock, and he's leading us because he put this in the hands of the priests and the Kohanim and all these other people, and they failed him. Matter of fact, the so-called savior that they said that he sent, he failed too. Because nobody that he ever taught told us anything about the name of our creator. That should be the end of the story. And neither did he tell us what we needed to do to go back home to the land. Never. He never instructed us in the Moedims of Yahweh. Never. He never talked about those things. Matter of fact, he never wrote down anything. And everything that's ever been said about what he did is written in 4 gospels, which are all anonymous. They don't even know who the authors are. There's too many holes in that story. I don't have to listen to that. I don't have to believe that somebody was innocent, was killed for the wicked, and neither will I understand that the wicked will be justified by the death of the innocent. When Yah clearly states, I hate the shedding of innocent blood, and I will not acquit the wicked for killing the innocent, no matter who they are. I will never do that. And neither do I know these, you want me to say something, these Gentiles. I don't know them. I don't have no relationship with them. They don't mean nothing to me. They're nothing but a drop in the bucket. You can find that in Isaiah chapter 40. They are absolutely zippo to me. Matter of fact, in Jeremiah, I'm going to put an end to all of them. And I'm going to exalt Israel above all of them. Because Israel will be the chief of the nations in the book of Isaiah. That's who we're going to be. And that's who we are. But we have to do what he says. Hallelujah. Anything else? No. Well, you guys have been a wonderful group tonight. I'm so happy and thankful that we're able to share these moments together.
Likewise.
You know?
Likewise, Aki.
And I want you guys to remember that Yahweh loves you, and so do I.